at Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon.
The time is 10 a.m.
Thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Brandy and I'm here with Megan. We invite you to listen to our broadcast both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel, Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Hello everyone, we're going to start our day with an article from Springfield Daily Citizen. This story is by Joe Hadsel, and it is titled MSU Archaeologists Find Their Suspected Structures in Amazon Expedition and Much More. The two state university professors plan to publish their findings in peer-reviewed publications, then return hopefully in August. We have a picture of a man wearing a tan hat and a blue shirt looking at a laptop, and the caption is titled Christopher Bodine shows off a photo of a geoglyph, an ancient man-made geographical feature from their expedition to the Amazon. The photo itself consists of about 100 drone photos stitched together. This photo is by Ellie Fristack. On the day of one of their biggest finds among tree-covered ruins in the Amazon jungle, two archaeologists had to cut their day short. Otherwise, they would have missed playing in a volleyball tournament. "We wanted to stay out there longer," said Daniel Pierce. "That was the day that we had our biggest discoveries, but we were like, we gotta go play volleyball in half an hour. We gotta go." Pierce and Christopher Bodine, archaeology professors with Missouri State University, recently returned from a 2-week trip to the Amazonian rainforest. They had hoped to find some ground truth to the existence of man-made structures that, hidden by the thick jungle canopy, had been revealed using new laser-based technology. They found them and much more, so much more that they hoped to return in a few months to the small village that became a base of operations for about a week, as they ventured into the jungle and cataloged their finds. We have another photo of two men in the jungle. One looks like he is a lead, and one looks like he is a traveler. He has a blue hat with a khaki shirt on. It is Daniel Pierce, who is on the right of this photo, and Ronisley Martins, who snacks on a sugarcane as they study maps. This photo is courtesy of Christopher Bodine. The two are sitting on the specifics of their finds for now. Over the next few months, they will be working feverishly to publish their findings in respected peer journals, such as Science and Nature. The two have also appeared at archaeological conferences planned. For now, days after coming back from the Amazon, the two are grateful to donors who supported their trip and for the contacts they made during it. Going in, we thought there are these geoglyphs that represent evidence of a large-scale settlement, Pierce said in an interview Monday back in Springfield. But some of the things we found, things we didn't anticipate finding, are pieces of evidence that indicate even more than we thought. We found confirmation of our hypothesis, plus something else. Suspicions of a lost Amazon settlement. Pierce and Bodine earlier this year poured through LIDAR, a nickname for light detection and ranging. Images collected by other groups, specifically they spotted what they called a geoglyph. In this case, a diamond-shaped, too geometric to be a natural feature. A side trip of their expedition was to visit a site near Rio Branco in the Brazilian state Acre. But their main and first destination was a site about 200 miles away from Manaus, a city of about 1 million people in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. We have another picture here with Christopher Bodine. He's operating a drone near an area named Iguana Island. It looks like there is a sand beach that he is on with blue skies. Their suspicion is that the structure indicates the Amazon was not always such a dense jungle, and that some areas were more like a savanna, enabling farmers to grow food and raise livestock. Pierce and Bodine raised about $15,000 and were about to start their trip on December 4th. They were able to catch flights all the way to Manaus. The travel route for Missouri State researchers. We have a photo of that travel route here, and the archaeology team traveled from Springfield to the Amazon. It looks like they began in Springfield, Missouri, then flew to Chicago, Illinois, and then flew to Panama, then to Brazil. With the help of a guide and outfitter named Hertzga Nascimento, they traveled by boat across the Rio Negro for 200 miles until they disembarked for their inland quest. Dealing with heat indicates as high as 115 degrees, they fished for piranha to add protein to their diets and slept in the open air on hammocks with nothing but mosquito netting, important not for mosquitoes, but for an even more dangerous animal. The Rio's water is black, Bodine said. It has so much tannin in the water and is so acidic that it will kill mosquito eggs. The nets are for the abundant vampire bats that fly around, Pierce said. The vampire bats will bite you while you are sleeping and give you rabies. The village becomes a home base. When planning their expedition, they hoped to make contact with people at a small village near their site. They were pleased to discover people there. The Daily Citizen is not reporting the name of the village in order to protect the site from exposure before their findings can be published and peer-reviewed. We have another photo of Christopher Bodine as he negotiates a bridge in bad repair in an Amazonian village. He is crossing it. The right side has a handrail. The left side begins with a handrail, but then that handrail disappears. So there are stairs with no handrail, so that looks a little scary. That village became a base of operations for the two, where they became part of the community. They found a group of people living meager subsistence-based lives and joined them in their daily lives. The people they found were not primitive. They had access to the internet via satellite and a few cell phones and had a generator that could be powered on for about 3 hours a day. Village members helped pay for their share of generator use, Bodine said. But the people who lived there had to focus primarily on survival, Bodine said, not working that would be considered typical jobs in American culture. The houses they slept in were not sealed from the elements. The archaeologists took part in community activities such as the volleyball tournament. The women of the village enjoy the sport and play regularly on a makeshift court, Pierce said. The importance of that community activity was not lost on the professors. Getting support from locals was important, but the village's needs were magnified. Bodine said that the village is spread across a river, that when the rainy season rolls around, sequesters half of it on an island connected by a single long bridge. That bridge is in serious disrepair, and the village's well has broken down. It's not just the archaeology that I'm interested in now, Bodine said. I want to help them fix the bridge. I care about that village probably as much as the archaeology, and I think part of our future research and expeditions should not only do the science, but help the locals while they're doing the science, finding what they suspected and much more. These villagers were a part of their successful expedition, Pierce said. The first couple of days were spent with them as guides. The archaeologist and a survival expert named Ronesley Martins ventured daily toward the area where they believed their large diamond to be situated. Language barriers and GPS failures slowed progress, but once they discovered they all had Spanish in common, Pierce said they caught back up. We have another photo of a gentleman in a jungle. He has a blue ball cap on with a gray t-shirt. It looks like he is holding a GPS device in his hand, and he has a black backpack on. It appears someone is behind them, but they are hiding in the leaves. And it looks like they might be wearing a green t-shirt, so they're blending in. It looks like it's Daniel Pierce making his way through the jungle overgrowth. And this photo is courtesy of Christopher Bodine. Not that they kept up a breakneck pace. The professors had to use machetes to progress deeper into the jungle where they wanted to go. They were able to use digital maps to position themselves and recognize key features. Every day they ventured into the jungle, they saw more of what they hoped to find, including pottery and other relics. Martins, who is also an archaeology professor at the Federal University of Amazonas, shared their excitement. A good thing about having him there was how he kept us grounded, Pierce said. If it was just us, then we could think something was a big deal, but maybe there's something we're missing in the Portuguese literature, or maybe the Brazilians know about something that we don't. But having him there, we could always ask if something was found was a big deal. Hoping to return. Pierce and Bodine left everything they found where it was. Using drones and other technology, they took only pictures and recorded data for further study. The area is protected by the Brazilian government, and the two archaeologists had permission only for reconnaissance, not recovery. That's fortunate in some respects, because the site will be protected from logging efforts that have cleared other areas of the Amazon. The exposure of the ground from logging led to the discovery of the geoglyphs at Rio Branco, they said. We have another photo here. It is of archaeologist David Pierce. He is in looks like a classroom, and he is talking about the process of getting to the Amazon from Springfield, along with a broad view of what they found. This photo is by Ellie Fristack. But it also adds a risk of the two. Once word of their findings reaches the larger world, a sort of gold rush could start, and others will want to see the undiscovered settlement for themselves. And that may complicate the archaeologists' attempts for more permits. Still, the two want to return as soon as possible. As they present their findings to other archaeologists, they plan to raise even more money for a trip, hopefully in August, when the river levels are at their lowest. And the two also want to raise money to help the village with its needs, including that bridge and well. This site has much more story to tell and can redefine our understandings of the Amazon, they said. Once thought of as a harsh environment for humans, the site shows that it could have been bustling with human activity. The side trip to Acre, with revealed structures as long as 1,500 or 2,000 feet, showed that what is hiding underneath the trees near the village could be massive. There is more there than we thought, so it could be exciting, Bodine said. This cannot have existed when they built this, because there is no way to build it with the jungle in the way. They are of a size that it takes a division of labor on a large scale. And this story was by Joe Hadsel, and he is the education reporter of the Springfield Daily Citizen.
This is from the Springfield News-Leader. Master Gardener answers what tools a novice gardener needs, by Helen Vanilla, Master Gardeners of Greene County, special to the Springfield News-Leader. What do I need to do with my gardening hand tools to prepare for storage over winter? Tools will last longer and function better for many reasons, for many seasons, if they are properly prepared and cleaned before storing over winter. The first step would be to remove any debris with either steel wool or a wire brush, then wipe with a damp rag. Coarse sandpaper can then be used to remove any rust spots, wiping down with oil, vegetable oil, afterwards. Wooden handles should then be sanded to remove any splinters or rough areas. The wooden handles should then be wiped down with linseed oil. What do I need to do with my gardening hand tools? Oh, I just read that. I am new to gardening, and I plan to start next spring. What are some basic tools I need for low-maintenance gardening without investing too much money? A lot of what you need depends on what type of gardening you plan to do, but starting on a small scale, whether in the ground or in a raised bed container, doesn't have to require buying out the hardware store. A few basic tools will go a long way in gardening. More can be added later as you discover what you really need. It is important to purchase the best quality tools you can afford, since cheap tools do not last long, do not work as well, and will probably cost more in the long run than quality tools that will last for years. I recommend a good steel bypass pruner, a hand trowel, good leather gloves, a digging fork, garden knife, round point shovel, watering can, and a 5-gallon bucket. The bucket is especially useful as it can function as a tool carrier, garden seat, or to carry whatever needs to be carried around the garden. A garden tiller may or may not be necessary, but it can be a big expense. Hiring someone to till is an option, as well as considering no-till gardening. When selecting tools, look for quality, ergonomics, and value for the money spent. I didn't get my daffodils in the ground this fall. Is it too late to plant them now? Although daffodils are best planted in the fall, from September to November, they can also be planted in early winter in December if the soil is not frozen. It is best if the soil is cool but not frozen, which will allow the bulbs to establish roots before they go into a dormant state. Before planting, inspect the bulbs to make sure they are firm and healthy. If the ground is frozen, the bulbs can be potted up and stored in a cool place, such as a garage or styrofoam cooler. The unpotted bulbs can also be stored in the fridge, planted in the spring. The bulbs can be planted in the spring after last frost and the ground is thawed. Although bloom time will be later in the spring or even next year, properly stored bulbs stored in a cardboard box with newspapers can last 6 to 9 months, sometimes as long as a year.
Alrighty, today is National Bacon Day. According to the Bacon Day website, the day was created by Danya Goodman and Meph Leonard. They came up with the day as a way to celebrate bacon and The Simpsons. In The Simpsons episode, I Love Lisa, Homer asks, "Is it Bacon Day?" This is how the creators of the day tied the celebration of two things they love together. So what's the story of bacon? Bacon is a popular treat cut from the meat of a pig. In the United States, bacon refers to meat from the belly of a pig, known as the pork belly. Bacon from the loin is called Canadian bacon. To make bacon, the pork is cured using salt and then is dried, boiled, or smoked. The smoking of bacon is often done with hickory, mesquite, or maple wood, and flavors such as brown sugar or maple may be added. I don't know about you, but I sure do love bacon. I might be making some later.
This is 417 Magazine. Southwest Missouri has Mahjong fever. From glossy tile sets to sold-out socials, Mahjong has sparked a new community craze in Southwest Missouri by Taryn Shore McKee. There's a picture of 4 people around a Mahjong tiles, in the Mahjong tiles in the middle. The photo is by Cody St. Clair. A couple times a month at Brown Derby International Wine Center, the clink of cocktail glasses blends with a distinct shuffle of glossy tiles and sporadic shouts of Charleston and Pung. Dozens of players lean intently over card tables, squinting at the intricate, colorful symbols on their Mahjong sets and debating strategies. Within minutes of being announced online, Brown Derby's Mahjong social events sell out, despite consistently increasing the number of players, currently up to 50. In Springfield, Missouri, Mahjong isn't just having a moment, it's becoming a movement. From Qing Dynasty to Queen City, Mahjong traces its origins to 19th century China, where players used the game's 144 intricately decorated tiles in a fast-paced contest of strategy, skill, and chance. Like with anything else, regional variations developed across Asia over time, each with distinct rules and tile combinations. American Mahjong, the version now sweeping the Ozarks, and not to be confused with Western Mahjong, has its own identity. First seen in the 1920s, the American game brought the tile count up to 152, added a standardized card of winning hands, and introduced a slightly different set of rules, also sometimes styled as American Mahjong or American Mahjong. It caught on quickly, particularly among upper-class women's circles. It's the kind of game played in country clubs and living rooms, usually with a batch of fresh cocktails nearby. Popularity spiked again in the 1950s and 60s before slowly fading from modern-day culture. Now, a century after it first arrived on American shores, Mahjong is once again thriving, enjoying a renaissance spreading rapid fire across the world. This time, social media is driving its resurgence, attracting a younger generation to the game's mix of tradition, strategy, and style. The style factor. If Mahjong feels practically tailor-made for Instagram and TikTok, well, that's because it is. Not literally, of course, but the ornate tiles, traditionally made of bamboo or bone, and in more contemporary fashion, acrylic or melamine, and decorated with everything from flowers and dragons to Chinese characters and candy, have always had an enviable glamour. In recent years, brands like Oh My Mahjong, a Dallas-based woman-owned company, the Mahjong Line, My Fair Mahjong, Charleston Mahjong Club, and others have pushed the aesthetic even further with multicolored racks, bold fonts, and limited edition designs that sell out quickly. Mahjong Room Ideas on Pinterest, videos tagged #Mahjong Talk, and the broader granny era trend have introduced the game to a younger demographic who may never have encountered it otherwise. At the same time, lockdowns during the COVID-19 pandemic gave people extended stretches of time at home, creating a perfect opportunity to pick up new hobbies, like games that happen to be both engaging and visually appealing. These factors helped fuel a renewed interest in Mahjong, particularly in the South and on the East Coast, where the game has long had a following. Slowly but steadily, that revival continues to spread westward, and now the Ozarks are in the mix. There's a picture of different colored Mahjong tiles on a pink background. Building community one tile at a time. Few people embody the Mahjong room more than Stephanie Hornicle, a florist and quilting business owner from Ozark. Find her on Instagram at Birds Social Club. She describes herself as the type of person who gets genuinely excited about things, who wants to share that excitement with others. After interviewing Hornicle, I can attest. Oh, I lost my place. Okay. I can attest to that. I went into the conversation knowing next to nothing about Mahjong, and by the end, we were making plans for her to teach me. Hornicle dabbled in Mahjong here and there, learning casually with friends, but admits they never fully grasped all the rules. Determined to learn more, she began watching videos online. That's where she discovered Oh My Mahjong, a brand known for its stylish upscale tiles, designs, and luxury price tags. Soon Hornicle had her sights set on one of the sets, and when she realized she could earn a discount by becoming a brand mentor, she jumped at the chance. From there, interest among her family and friends unexpectedly skyrocketed. Authentically and enthusiastically sharing about her new tiles on social media quickly drew attention, and before long, people in Hornicle's circle began asking her to teach them to play. I can't get away from teaching now, she says playfully. Hornicle plays with 3 different groups weekly, but also offers private lessons 2 to 3 times per week and helps run the Brown Derby Open Play socials. She even uses her Oh My Mahjong discount to buy tile sets to donate them to Springfield libraries, where requests for Mahjong are steadily increasing. One of the things I love most about this journey is I've been teaching women I never even would have had a conversation with, Hornicle says. Our paths would never even crossed. Local Mahjong 101. In Springfield's Roundtree neighborhood, the local bevy has become another hub for curious newcomers. The eclectic gift shop, curated with locally made art and other goods and owned by Andrea and Justin Petersburg, started hosting monthly Mahjong 101 classes in September in partnership with Hornicle, naturally. The two women have known each other for years. Hornicle sometimes has quilted items for sale in the shop. And when Hornicle approached Petersburg with the idea that the local bevy could host classes, it was an immediate yes. Other than Brown Derby, mahjong enthusiasts don't have many other places in town to play consistently. The local bevy's 2-hour 101 sessions cover fundamentals, then move into a few quick rounds. Participants don't need to bring anything. Tiles, racks, and teaching materials are provided. However, most will eventually purchase their own playing card, a key component of American mahjong. There are a lot of rules, Petersburg says. It's a complicated game, not at all as straightforward as other card or tile games, and nothing like the computer game millennials probably remember from their childhood. But once you learn how to play, everyone loves it. She adds, playing mahjong is a wonderful way to get back to the tradition of board game nights and build community at the same time. It sounds so cliche, but this game lets you get away from your phone, from social media, and leaves your problems behind for a little while. To meet Springfield's ever-growing demand for more opportunities to play, Petersburg and Hornicle have plans in the works to add regular open play nights to their current monthly 101 classes. Word spreads quickly in Springfield's tight-knit creative community. A single Instagram post can fill a whole class. Hornicle also hopes to eventually bring major mahjong tournaments to Springfield, pointing to other cities around the country that host mahjong tournaments, including Dallas and Charleston. With the new 500-person capacity Hatch Auditorium opening at the Library Center in January, where Hornicle recently accepted a fitting position as the event space coordinator, the infrastructure is certainly there. If you're willing to travel a bit to get your fix, Ozarks Mahjong in Fayetteville, Arkansas, opened a permanent game lounge where individuals or groups can rent tables or book an instructional session. The group even collaborated with local artists to design its own tile set, the Art Deco-inspired Winslow 1920 line, which launched in October. There's a picture of 4 women, one with a pink sweater, one with a tan sweatshirt, one with a blue shirt, and one with a brown shirt, around a set of mahjong tiles. Mahjong's enduring appeal. This game is more than just strategy, it's social glue. It generally requires 4 players, creating a built-in reason to gather. Sessions can be casual, as a weeknight with friends in your kitchen, or as organized as a sold-out event at Brown Derby. Mahjong is something you don't have to prep for in advance, Hornicle explains. You just play, maybe enjoy some cocktails, and then go home. It's great for getting us all off our phones for a few hours and bringing us together as a community, something that's really gotten lost in the years since the pandemic. That combination of tradition and novelty, structure and style, explains why the game resonates so strongly right now. It's rooted in history, yet new, sophisticated, yet approachable, exactly like the Ozarks. Speak the language. Like any cultural moment, mahjong has its own language. Although it has rummy-like elements, pairs, runs, and suits, those elements get unique to mahjong names. Get to know the lingo before you play. Charleston. Unique to American mahjong, this is the tile passing stage that precedes regular gameplay. Pong, a set of 3 identical tiles. Kong, a set of 4 identical tiles. Quint, a set of 5 identical tiles. And Chow, a run of tiles in the same suit. Bam, one of 3 mahjong tile suits, short for bamboo because the tile's artwork is usually green with images of bamboo. The one Bam tile almost always features a bird. Dot, one of 3 major mahjong tile suits. The tile's artwork is usually blue and features dot configurations representing different numbers. Crack, one of 3 mahjong tile suits, short for character, because the tile's artwork is usually red and features Chinese characters.
Alrighty, next up we have a story from the Springfield Daily Citizen. This story is by Mike O'Brien. It is titled, How a Springfield Farmer Built a Life in Music Without Leaving Home. Dallas Jones writes songs on a tractor, plays gigs at night, and built a sustainable music life rooted in family and the Ozarks. We have a photo of Dallas Jones performing at Holdfast Brewing. He studies the audience, and he says, if something gets an especially positive reaction, I'll do a couple more of those. When you're in the entertainment business, you're going to give the people what they want. This photo is by Michael Bryan. Friends and fellow musicians marvel at the extraordinary number of songs, around 350, that Springfield troubadour Dallas Jones has churned out during the past 2 decades. And they find it remarkable that Jones finds time to play several gigs a week while also running the family's large farm. Turns out those 2 pursuits are linked. I wrote most of my songs while driving a tractor, says the 47-year-old Jones, who has followed his grandfather Rex and dad Doug into running the cattle and hay operation on 1,000 acres adjacent to the Springfield Branson National Airport. When I'm on a tractor for 10 or 12 hours a day, I'll sing stuff into my phone to record it. Sometimes just one line here and one line there, maybe a chorus or something. Once in a while, I'll start humming something and babble what we call dummy lyrics to get a melody out, but almost always lyrics come first. Then when I get home, I'll pick up an instrument and see what comes of it. As if those activities weren't enough to fill days well into night, Jones also reserves quality time with wife Melanie, who teaches at Willard Central Elementary School, and their sons Grant, 16, and Noah, 14. Making music without leaving home behind. We have a photo of O'Brien and his dog in a car. His dog looks very happy. It's a brown doggo with his tongue sticking out. Although he has attracted loyal fans as a music performer and admiration from colleagues as a prolific music composer, he just keeps pumping them out. All the local songwriters love him and hate him for that, jokes occasional stage mate Brandon Moore. Jones says it's only in recent years that he's felt comfortable introducing himself as a musician. It used to be when somebody would ask what I do for a living, I would almost just say, I'm a farmer. Now I finally will say, I'm a farmer/musician, or maybe musician/farmer, depending. Jones pauses, then clarifies. I actually don't consider myself as being in the music business. I think of myself as being in the entertainment business. Because in the music business, you've got to be out there, always promoting yourself, willing to get into a van and drive across the country to gigs. Neglect your wife and kids for several years, and even then, nothing may happen career-wise. The music business is rough. It's cruel. You've got to give up something. You've got to really commit. But I like to be home at night. I like seeing and being with my family every day. And fortunately, we have several places around here that will pay someone to sit in the corner for a couple of hours and play music that people want to hear and be entertained. Neither farmer nor musician, let alone a combination, were job titles that Jones aimed for while growing up. He worked on the farm from an early age, of course. By the time he entered college, he had designs on getting into the advertising profession. However, Jones had been intrigued by the musical activities of his older brother, Jeff. When Jeff was a freshman in high school, he was in a musical, Jones recalls. I was in the 5th or 6th grade, and I remember watching him on the stage and just being transfixed, thinking, that's amazing. Jeff got a guitar a couple of years later. When Jeff was gone, I'd sneak into his room and try to figure out how to play it. But there came a point when he told me, get your own guitar. So my grandpa bought me one of my own for my 14th birthday. Now we have a photo where he is setting up a speaker with the guitar on his back. Looks like he's in a garage area. And the photo is captioned, after he's hauled his gear inside a performance venue, Dallas Jones must set up the speakers, microphones, and amplifier required to convey his music to the audience. This photo is by Michael Bryan. Jones never received formal lessons in how to play guitar. But again, following his older brother's lead, he applied his self-described very high tenor singing voice to choirs in junior high and high school, Willard High, class of 1996. And like Jeff, his singing ability won him a vocal music scholarship to Drury University, where he majored in communication. As things turned out, I wish I would have majored in music. That would have made a lot more sense. I never took a music theory class. Obviously, I wish I would have. I did take one piano class from an organist at Drury who was the accompanist for the choir. Her name was Dr. Erlene Mulder, and she was a legend. She taught me some stuff, but I never could read music. I would learn pieces by ear. I would look at the page when I played for her, but she would say, "You're not reading the music, Mr. Jones." And I'd say, "No, but I'm playing it." For my final presentation, she made me do one song from sheet music, but then she allowed me to play one. I think it was an Elton John song, just the way I wanted to play it. Jones performed with 2 choirs, concert and a chamber at Drury. But if you're just in choir after you get out of school, what do you do? Which is sad. After receiving his diploma in communication in the spring of 2000, Jones interviewed for jobs in the advertising field. But it quickly became clear to me that I can't work in an office. I thought, I don't want to do anything to do with this. I don't want anything to do with this. So I went to Europe for 3 or 4 months of backpacking, got a Euro pass, and went to something like 15 countries. And it just kind of changed my perspective. By Christmas of 2000, Jones had returned to the Ozarks and the family farm. We never had a big, serious conversation about, this is what I'm going to do with my life. But I just asked my dad, is it okay if I keep working here? And he said, sure. We also had a house building business for a while, too. I never really planned on being a farmer, but I thought, well, maybe this isn't so bad. I'll do it for a little while. But I've just kept doing it, and I still am, 25 years later. We have a photo of Dallas Jones in a dedicated home office space equipped with keyboard and guitars where he can polish the latest songs he's composed, often while piloting a tractor on the farm. It looks like he's got his keyboard in front of him with a microphone. There's a cool little lamp that looks like a daffodil turned upside down. On weekends, Jones joined Friends for rock climbing adventures in Arkansas and floating Ozarks teams. And as young men want to do, Jones and his buddies frequented local clubs in the evenings, especially those featuring live music. By this time, Jones had developed a taste for the music of recording artists who were singer-songwriters: Bob Dylan, John Prine, the Beatles, John Denver, etc. Recently, Jones has incorporated several Taylor Swift songs into his songs and learning songs by Chappelle Roan, who, although they share Willard roots, Jones has never met. I like their songwriting. I like who they are as artists and what they stand for, he says. He also followed local musicians. The family band Big Smith was a big favorite, featuring local musician Jody Bailu, his brother Mark, and 3 cousins. Jim Stanley, literally a lifelong pal from infancy through college and beyond, remembers a significant night at the former Outland nightclub in downtown Springfield in spring of 2001. Mark was playing a solo show. We were giving Dallas a hard time, saying, "Why don't you go up there and sing one of Mark's songs?" And Dallas said, No, that's not how this works. But we created kind of a commotion, and Mark noticed. He finally said, "Dallas, do you want to come up here and sing a song?" So Dallas got up there and sang one, and sang it great. And Mark said, "Well, I guess you shouldn't let other people sing your song if they're going to do it better than you do." Staley adds, "My impression was that Dallas really enjoyed being up there on that stage, and that was a big part of him deciding, well, maybe I really can do this." Jones agrees. He began returning for open mic night opportunities to gain experience before audiences. At first, he only covered other songs, but a friend suggested he try writing some of his own. So when I came back the next week, I'd written a couple, he says. I don't remember what they were, but they got me started, and I haven't stopped. By the end of the summer, Jones had written enough songs to fill a compact disc. So with assistance from Mark, he booked studio time to record his first album. The model I grew up on was write 10 songs, go into a studio and make a CD, sell the CD, and hope you make your money back and maybe a little extra. Now nobody makes money off of recorded music anymore, but it was the thing to do back then. The day of his first day in the recording studio was September 11th, 2001. As that morning's news reports began arriving, the word of terrorists crashing jetliners into the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, there was debate over whether to continue with their recording session. But we decided to go ahead, Jones says, because we wanted to make something beautiful in the world on a day that was so terrible. Jody says that first album that Jones recorded with Mark is a household favorite. I love to hear Dallas sing. Jody now fronts a band that includes some members of Big Smith and named Little Jones. A running gag at some Little Jones gigs is to joke that Dallas is a band member. Meanwhile, Mark now performs with his wife Cindy Wolf as the folk duo The Creek Rocks. Now we have a photo of Dallas Jones, a one-man band. It looks like he is outdoors on a bike carrying his equipment. It looks like he's going to a local gig. He's using the cart to transfer sound equipment that he somehow crams into his subcompact car into a local brewery. This photo is by Mike O'Brien. Over the years, Jones has recorded a total of 10 albums. CD sales are not a big thing anymore, but his music is downloadable from internet services and can be found on YouTube. However, to make appreciable income as a local musician, live gigs are the best bet now. For the first few years, Jones treated music mostly as a hobby, booking only occasional gigs, many of which didn't pay. He also tried playing in bands for a while, but it was difficult to balance group practice schedules and far-ranging concert dates with his responsibilities at the farm. His credits teaming up with local Molly Healy for convincing him to consider music as more than hobby. The two met in early 2000s when Healy began lending her violin talents to Big Smith, and Jones occasionally opened up shows for the band. Healy recalls, "I'd sit in with Dallas sometimes. I enjoyed that because he's always had such an honest sound, simplicity in the best way possible. I really admire Dallas because he does something that I cannot do. He can sit down and carry an entire show with just him and his guitar." In addition to the violin, Healy plays cello and guitar and uses electronic looping gear to build and play multi-track songs in front of audiences. Along with solo performances, in recent years she has been a member of the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, half of the Lace Wings duo with Liz Carney, and she heads her own Molly Healy String project. Through the 2010s until the COVID crisis crippled live music venues in the early 2020s, Healy spent Sunday evenings performing with Jones at Springfield Brewing Company. The experience was an eye-opener for Jones. "It was the first regular gig I'd ever had," he explains. "I started playing 1 or 2 other times a week, maybe 10 or so gigs a month, but after the pandemic hit, I did the math, and it became clear that what I'd been making with music amounted to more than just nice extra hobby money. We'd come to rely on that money, and we're going to continue to need it. I need to figure out how to get it back. Farming, at least in our situation, unfortunately can't be our sole source of income." It was a scary time. We didn't know if places would ever start hiring again, but I decided that if they did, I was going to be more intentional. Up to that point, I'd rarely contact venues looking for work. I'd just wait for them to contact me. But I decided to start taking the approach of I'm going to reach out to 4 or 5 or 10 places and see if I can get some dates on the calendar. That's when I really started kicking it into high gear while I still can. That's another thing. As I've gotten older, I can feel the strain in my voice. Maybe I can't quite hit that note like I used to. Maybe it takes me longer to recover from a gig than it used to. I'm terrible at taking care of my voice, but there are some tricks I've learned over the years, like not singing too hard or loud. I see younger singers who just belted it out with no microphone, but if I did that, I'd lose my voice in 30 seconds. Making hay while the sun shines, so to speak. Healy says Jones has helped her out, both as a friend and as a fellow musician. When I decided to go out and do the solo thing, Dallas had already been doing it for a long time, and he taught me those ropes. Which microphones to get, which mic stands to use, which amplifiers were best for solo artists. For my first several solo gigs, he let me borrow his gear and kind of set me up. He really has been one of my biggest influences and helped me get my solo thing off the ground. Like other colleagues, Healy is amazed at Jones' output of original songs. While we were doing the Bruco gigs, almost every week he'd come in with a new song. We never wrote songs together, but we often were the first to hear each other's music. I just thought that was really cool. Another admiring musician is Jimmy Ray, who is also an arts reporter and a host on public radio station KSMU. Like Jones, Ray is a product of Willard High School, but Dallas and I didn't hang out with each other back then because we were in different classes. They did cross paths at Drury, and after graduation they played together in a Beatles cover band for a while. Dallas is salt of the earth, a true blue friend who would help anyone with anything, anytime, says Ray. He's a prolific songwriter, a family man, a hard-working farmer, and a music professional. He's also a master trader. He usually brings people and items together. Now we have a photo of Mr. Dallas Jones on his John Deere tractor. He is wearing a dark green button-up and khaki pants and has his work boots on. The photo is captioned, "Maintaining the Jones family's 1,000-acre farm near Willard requires heavy machinery, including this tractor in which Dallas Jones often composes songs as he drives." This photo is by Mike O'Brien. When not on a tractor or on a stage, Jones focuses on family. Melanie and their sons are very supportive of his music. He emphasizes, but music doesn't play a big role around the house. He has a home office outfitted with an electronic keyboard and a couple of guitars, including a treasured Takamine that he acquired in Japan in 2023 when he represented Springfield in the Sister Cities Cultural Exchange Program. But I don't practice much at home because I play so often, he says. There's an upright standard piano in the living room. My younger son, Noah, came to us about 2 years ago and said, "I want to take piano lessons." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, but I'm still waiting for that spark." He can play, but he doesn't practice as much as he probably should. I know what that is. I learned to play just as a vehicle to accompany myself so I could sing. But he can sit down and play some stuff that I have to say, wow, I don't think I could play that. Jones said that both sons have good singing voices, whether they realize it or not. Maybe they won't be musicians, but I hope they'll appreciate music. I hope they find inspiration from somewhere or somebody, but it's probably not going to be from me. Jones also is introducing the boys to farm life. He turns older son Grant loose on the tractor once in a while. I don't foresee my kids doing farming, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be a farmer when I was their age either. But for me, farming and music have worked well together because I can usually be flexing and the farming. That flexibility is why I can book 25 gigs a month. Yes, there are times of the year when we work 80 hours a week, but I still get off at 7 or 8 and I can still go play a gig. It's hard sometimes, but it's just what I've got to do. It's what I want to do for another 10 years at least, or maybe more. If that plan pans out, it'll probably lead to more stories like one that Brandon Moore enjoyed telling recently. The other night, Dallas and I were setting up for a gig, and then we had a little time to sit and visit before we started playing. I asked him how his day had been. He said he'd almost gotten killed by a cow, and I go, "What?" But then I remembered that he's a farmer too. Most of us aren't likely to be killed by our jobs. Dallas is one of a kind. This story was by Mike O'Brien from the Springfield News-Leader.
From the Springfield Business Journal, we've got a picture of a building with a cross on the front, a sign that says the Legacy Center, and 2 ladders, as well as a ramp and 9 steps. The caption says, "The former Broadway Bible Church is being renovated into the Legacy Center." Freeway Ministries is building West Central Community Hub by Karen Crago, reporter. Freeway Ministries is at work on a facility to offer skills training and mentorship for at-risk children and teens. The organization is renovating the former Broadway Bible Church, a 7,600 square foot building at 501 South Broadway Avenue in the city's West Central neighborhood, into the Legacy Center. And architect Nathan Burkholder of Burkholder Architecture LLC has designed the renovated facility. The mission is to provide at-risk children and families with love, mentorship, and a safe place to grow spiritually and practically, Burkholder said via email. A website for the project describes the Legacy Center as a community hub offering youth mentoring and discipleship and life skills programs and a faith-based reward system. Key to its programming is practical instruction in construction, cooking, home maintenance, gardening, and technology with biblical integration, the website states. Children and teens can earn points for participation and character and redeem them at an on-site store for food, clothing, books, and hygiene items, the website states. Also planned are weekly Bible studies and family support programs, including counseling, parenting support, and community workshops. John Stroop, Executive Director of Freeway Ministries, said that canvassing the neighborhood was important to determine what the facility's offerings would be. We did a canvass and asked people what they thought the neighborhood needed, and one of the biggest things was food. Volunteers also learned that children in the neighborhood lack a safe place to play, Stroop said, and parents are afraid to let their kids go outside. Freeway Ministries officials described the neighborhood as one of Springfield's most vulnerable. They state that a quarter of the children live in poverty with high rates of homelessness, family instability, and crime and addiction. A fundraising campaign to sustain the center's programming is underway, and one-time or repeating donations are sought, Stroop said. The center will be operated by urban missionaries Angel and Rachel Morales, the project's Facebook page states. The two are leading the demolition and renovation work, building a ministry team, and cultivating relationships in the neighborhood, an introductory post states. Stroop said Angel Morales is serving as the general contractor for the project. He added that Morales comes from poverty in his home country of Honduras, and Stroop himself came from poverty and homelessness. We both have the heart to see at-risk families come out of poverty, he said. Stroop added that urban mission work succeeds because it recognizes the subculture and speaks the language of the community it serves. He said Freeway Ministries has been operational for 14 years with weekly programming, but he knew it would not be possible to make an impact on a weekly basis. The church is good at doing events, but it's not as good at doing life, he said. The building for the Legacy Center was donated, he said, and a fundraising campaign raised $800,000 for the renovation. Stroop said partners are on board, including mechanics who will teach auto repair. The facility will also have a hair salon where young people can gain some work experience and a haircut for school. Multiple other programs are in the works as well, he said. We're going to be a lighthouse in the neighborhood, he said. Freeway Ministries volunteers provided 2,500 bags of groceries to 516 households in the neighborhood in a 90-minute period before Thanksgiving, Stroop said.
Alrighty, our next story is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. It is by Andy Carroll. It is titled Top-Seeded Kickapoo Too Much for Hillcrest in White Division Semifinals. The Lady Chiefs to face Logan Rogersville in Tuesday's championship round. We have a photo of Kickapoo point guard Bella Bateman as she goes in for a layup from yesterday's game at the O'Reilly Center in Springfield. Kickapoo's usual smothering defense fueled the top-seeded Lady Chiefs to a 28-point lead, but that didn't stop Hillcrest from trying to overcome it. Kickapoo ultimately defeated Hillcrest 53-40 in the pink and white tournament, white bracket semifinal at O'Reilly Family Center on Monday, after the Lady Chiefs held the Hornets to 5 points in the first half. Kickapoo forward and Newman University pledge Lexi Ringgold controlled the paint and scored a team-high 11 points, while guard Anya Perry bullied the Hornets nearly every time they crossed half court. Our main thing is defense, because our defense leads to offense, and my main thing that I like to do is play defense, Perry said. I want to be aggressive. I want to get the ball stolen, get my teammates the ball off that. Lady Chiefs guard Katie Vaughn splashed from behind the arc 3 times and finished with 9 points. Jury-bound guard Josie Salazar added 8 points. Really good bounce back for us to hold them to 5 points in the first half. Kickapoo head coach Leslie Hanchey said after the Lady Chiefs surrendered 45 points to Thayer in the quarterfinals. That's what we talked about at practice today and practice yesterday. Being able to defend without fouling, being able to get out on the three-point shooters because they have some really great shooters. Cameron Sumners scored 8 points in the fourth quarter for Hillcrest as the Hornets outscored Kickapoo by 15 points in the final 8 minutes. Kickapoo and number 2 seed Logan Rogersville meet for the white bracket on Tuesday, today at 2:30 p.m. Kickapoo downed Stratford in last year's championship before going on to place third at the Class 6 state tournament. It's going to be a dogfight, Hanchey said. We played each other last year in the pink and white. We played each other in the summer. We played against each other in the Jamboree. 4 games in 5 days. It's really hard. Everybody is tired at this point, so you can't use that as an excuse. So it's whichever team can show up and be the most physical and execute the game plan that is going to do the best. And this story is by Andy Carroll.
In the Springfield Daily Citizen, Answer Man, prior city cemetery damaged in Civil War battle. Hazelwood replaced it in 1867. There's a photo of a cemetery with headstones and a sign red with white lettering says, "Welcome to Hazelwood Cemetery, established 1867, office," with an arrow above it. Answer Man Steve Pokin provides a brief history of Hazelwood Cemetery. The photo is by Steve Pokin. Answer Man: why does the city of Springfield own and operate a cemetery, Hazelwood Cemetery? Jack McGee of Springfield. Springfield has owned a cemetery at least as far back as the Civil War. In fact, there's an artist's depiction on a historical marker showing Confederate soldiers advancing through the former cemetery near today's downtown Springfield. The 1863 battle was fought at Campbell Avenue and State Street. The marker is just to the west of Campbell on the north side of State. There's a photo of soldiers, well, more like a photo of a drawing. Confederate troops take cover behind the tombstones in the Old City Cemetery near State Street and Campbell Avenue. The artwork is from a historical marker located on the north side of State Street. Photo by Steve Pokin. The cemetery was damaged during the Civil War to the point that Hazelwood Cemetery was created in 1867. It too is owned and operated by the city, with a significant difference. The city maintains Hazelwood. It tracks burials and does things like trim trees and shrubbery and enforces rules such as no dogs allowed. The former cemetery, although owned by the city, was maintained by the families of those buried there. And that was a major problem, says Tiffany Mims, the city employee who oversees Hazelwood. She works in a small office on the cemetery grounds, located close to the Seminole Street and Glenstone Avenue intersection. The Old City Cemetery, which preceded Hazelwood, was at Campbell and State. There's a picture of a Battle of Springfield, marker 8. Over time, even before the Civil War, the former city cemetery, which at some point became known as the Old City Cemetery, fell into disrepair with spotty knowledge of who was buried there. Many family members failed to maintain the graves of loved ones. Also, over time, in some cases, there were no living family members to care for the burial sites. Hazelwood is the largest city-owned active cemetery in Missouri. I can't find a precise number for how many active city-owned cemeteries there are in the nation or state. Maplewood Cemetery was created 9 years after Hazelwood. It is owned and operated by a nonprofit. There are an estimated 144,847 cemeteries and graveyards in the United States, according to a 2018 story in the Business Insider. A good number of them are city-owned. We're talking about cemeteries for humans, not pets. Regardless, says Mims, Hazelwood is the largest city-owned active cemetery in Missouri. Active meaning there are still places for in-the-ground burials. the Wood in Hazelwood comes from a family name. Doesn't know where Hazel comes from. Mims has researched the history of Hazelwood Cemetery, and she tells me there are inaccuracies on the city webpage for the cemetery. For example, the website says the city purchased the land at Glenstone and Seminole for the cemetery from the Woods and Hazeltine families, and therefore the name Hazelwood. There's a picture of headstones, and the caption says Hazelwood Cemetery was dedicated in 1867 and opened the following year. It is owned and operated by the city. Photo by Steve Pokin. Not so, Mims says. The Hazelton family was not involved, but the Wood family, not Woods, was. Mims says she plans to update and correct the webpage in the near future. She suspects the Wood in Hazelwood comes from the Wood family, but has no idea where the Hazel comes from. What I have been able to find is that the mayor at the time just said it's going to be known as Hazelwood, she says. Mayor R.B. Owen was quoted as saying that in an 1868 news story, she tells me. City was looking for 40 acres, but ended up buying 80. The city was looking for 40 acres for its new cemetery back in the 1860s. It wanted the land to be a couple of miles beyond city limits. That's because there was a growing trend at the time to locate cemeteries away from urban areas, because the thought was we don't want the dead making the living sick, Mims says. For this column, I interviewed Mims and also listened to her April 22nd radio interview with John Sellers, executive editor emeritus for the History Museum on the Square. Sellers has a radio show that airs at 4 p.m. Tuesdays on Kick 92.3 FM. In fact, the Hazelwood Cemetery was so far away from city limits back then that it was inaccessible to many people. In large part, that's why the nonprofit Maple Park Cemetery was created. It's closer to the city's core. There's a picture of a mausoleum with the name Cox on it. The Cox family crypt is Hazelwood Cemetery. It includes the remains of Lester E. Cox, the namesake of Cox Health. Photo by Steve Pokin. In that radio interview, Mims said it was difficult to get people to stop using the old city cemetery. People kept burying people there even after the city officially closed it. The city enacted an ordinance making such burial a misdemeanor crime. Once Hazelwood opened, families were given the opportunity to have their dead relatives disinterred and moved to Hazelwood or wherever else they wanted them moved. The city hired a contractor to move remaining bodies, unclaimed by living relatives, to a section of Hazelwood similar to a pauper's field. But over the years, as the old city cemetery was developed, more bodies were occasionally discovered when, as Sellers said on the radio show, basements were dug or sewer lines buried. Total cost for 80 acres was $3,500. The city purchased double the intended acreage for the cemetery because the 80 acres was such a deal, Mims says. The city paid $3,500 for it. It had been farmland. Per an agreement, the city quickly sold 5 acres to the federal government for the U.S. National Cemetery, and then later, over time, sold 5 acres to the federal government and the Confederate Cemetery Association for the better burial of Confederate soldiers. Keep in mind that Hazelwood opened in 1868, only 7 years after the Civil War Battle of Wilson's Creek. The city sold 2 acres to Temple Israel for the Jewish cemetery that's there. A marker at the site says the Jewish cemetery opened in 1894. Initially, there were 2 separate cemeteries. Initially, there was a South Hazelwood Cemetery for non-whites and a Hazelwood Cemetery for whites. That segregation ended in the 1950s, Mims says. The cemetery includes the resting places of several noted Springfieldians, including John Polk Campbell, the man credited as city founder, although Native Americans had lived there for centuries. But even that should have had an asterisk. In the early days of Hazelwood, Mims says, there was no requirement that a city employee be present at burial. At times, she said, some families would bury someone in a plot they had purchased, and the cemetery would have no record. Some families would disinter loved ones buried, say, in the yard, and bury them at Hazelwood. At other times, she says, families might place a memorial stone in the cemetery for a loved one, even if there wasn't a body, without telling anyone at the cemetery. There's a photo of a headstone with John P. Campbell. The city employee who manages Hazelwood Cemetery found a news story from the early 1900s that says John Polk Campbell died in Indian Territory, which later became Oklahoma, and his body was brought back and buried at the Springfield homestead. Later, when Hazelwood opened, Campbell's body was moved again to Hazelwood Cemetery. Photo by Steve Pokin. Campbell died May 28, 1852, 9 years before the Civil War. He was on a business trip to Oil Springs in the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. He was 48. Mims once thought Campbell's Spire Monument might be a cenotaph, which is a marker or structure placed in a cemetery for a person whose body is elsewhere. For example, there is a cenotaph for golfer Payne Stewart in Hazelwood, and one in the nearby Federal Cemetery for Union Brigadier General Nathan Lyon, who was killed at Wilson's Creek. Mims now is fairly certain that Campbell is in fact buried at Hazelwood. And she found a news story from the early 1900s that said his body was brought back from Oklahoma and buried in the Springfield homestead. The story also said it was moved to Hazelwood soon after it opened. Son's marker towers above Dad's. Mims tells us most people mistakenly identify John Polk Campbell's grave monument. It's next to his son's monument marker, which is much taller than his father's. People often assume the reverse. There's a picture of headstones and the burial marker for Leonidas Campbell, son of John Polk Campbell, is much taller than the marker of his father's grave. Photo by Steve Pokin. Leonidas Campbell, the son, served in the Confederacy during the Civil War, as did 3 of his brothers. He survived the war. 2 of his brothers did not. Leonidas died at the age of 47. This is Answerman column number 155. Steve Pokin writes the Pokin around and the Answerman columns for the Springfield Daily Citizen. He also writes about criminal justice issues. He can be reached at spokin@sgfcitizen.org. His office line is 417-837-3661.
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store, situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education.
This is in the Springfield Daily Citizen, Children's Issues in Parenting. News about parenting, daycare, and other forms of child care, foster care, and more in Springfield, Missouri. And Ozarks Santa brings joy long after the Christmas lights fade. From Branson's Polar Express to private home visits, Jim Bethuram has become the Ozarks' defining Santa. By Juliana Goodwin. There's a picture of a man with white hair and beard in a red and white suit. Jim Bethuram is a real bearded Santa who does house visits, is popular at area country clubs, and appears at Hy-Vee and Bass Pro. Photo by Tara Haley, photography. You know Santa flies all over the world delivering gifts on Christmas Eve, but did you realize he knows Johnny Morris? He lives near Palm de Terre Lake and keeps candy canes in his boat because kids will holler, "Santa," when they see him. This Santa doles out 10,000 candy canes a year. St. Nick has also been stiffed out of $500 by a local talent agent. The big guy isn't naming names, but suffice it to say they are on the naughty list. All these experiences and more belong to Jim Bethuram, who brightens thousands of lives every year when he puts it on his red and white suit. Jim is the real deal. He's a member of the International Brotherhood of Real Bearded Santas, is the go-to Santa for some of the biggest stores in Springfield, and even does house visits. It's a job he takes seriously. Anyone can buy a red suit. I carry $500,000 liability insurance on myself, and I have a background check because I think that is important. You should not invite anyone into your home if they don't have a background check. Born December 26th, he's always loved Christmas, but it's his foray into Santahood didn't start until Father's Day 2015, when he noticed his mustache was turning white. He decided not to shave it and built a career as Saint Nick. Another picture of a man in a red and white suit with a white mustache and beard. James Jim Bethlehem plays Santa in the Ozarks and looks the part. His beard and mustache are real. When it started turning gray, he decided to become Santa. The 68-year-old got a lucky break early in his career. He landed gigs at Bass Pro Shops in Branson in the day, and then headed over to the Polar Express during the night. Bethlehem worked 10 to 12-hour days. After 2 years, I thought, I am making an agent a whole lot of money I could make myself. So I started representing myself, and it went a lot further than I thought it would. Although he only keeps those hours during the holidays, he scores work about 10 months out of the year, doing commercials or other corporate work. Bethlehem is in high demand. He's been in ads for James River Church, the Big Blanket Company, Bass Pro Shops, and more. After Hurricane Dorian hit the Bahamas in September of 2019, Johnny Morris donated money to the island and flew Jim out to brighten people's spirits. You'll find him now at country clubs in Springfield and Ozark. He mostly does private events, visits homes and daycares, but works for Hy-Vee and Bass Pro for part of the season. These are fun gigs. Bethlehem also told us about some memorable moments in his career. There's a picture of Jim Bethlehem in his Santa suit with a little boy and a little girl. Bethlehem reads to little kids during a photo shoot. In real life, he reads to kids when he does a home visit. Credit of the Abigail Troy Photography. Question: funny moments of Santa. The home visits. When you enter the door and the kids see you, it is total chaos. I will offer to read a book. Kids love it. Parents love it. I have The Night Before Christmas and a new soon-to-be classic book called Fritz the Farting Reindeer. That is not for every family, but you can tell when it is. I incorporate a whoopee cushion with it. Those are hilarious times. Question: tell me a special moment as Santa. When I was at the Polar Express, there was a doll left on the train, and little did I know, I had a home visit with a family who lost that doll. They got a hold of me and said, Jim, did anyone turn in the doll? It is our daughter's favorite doll. I checked, and it was there. So at the home visit, I was able to bring that little girl's doll back. That little girl is 16 now. It is rewarding because I've done home visits and watched them grow one day a year, but most of them I'm friends with their parents on Facebook, so I get to watch them grow. Question: can you share a silly memory? I was doing a shoot and was in full suit in a pontoon, and it was 97 degrees. We are at Kimberling City under the big bridge. I'm on the boat and see an elderly woman on the boat ramp, and I honk the horn and wave at her. I know she went home and told her husband. I saw Santa Claus on a pontoon, and he's going to say, you're going to have to stop drinking your breakfast because you didn't see Santa in a suit on a pontoon. There's a picture of Jim Bethlehem in a fishing boat holding, I think is what, a bass. I'm not sure. The caption says, Jim Bethlehem lives near Palm de Terre Lake, loves fishing, and keeps candy canes in his boat because kids will see him and scream Santa. Photo provided by Bethlehem. Question: craziest request from a child? You get so many. Watermelon. That will take you back. I had cucumbers and broccoli. Sometimes you have pregnancy reveals. Mom and Dad in a picture of the ultrasound with me, and they're revealing they are pregnant on their Christmas card. Most heartbreaking thing a child has asked for. Sometimes you will have a child ask for their mom or dad back if their parent has passed. Question: how do you respond when a child asks for something like that? I say, I know you miss them, and I remember your mommy or daddy when you were a little girl, and they would love for you to be happy because they're in a place now where they are happy. They miss and love you, but can't be with you now. If it is the right place, I will offer a prayer. You have to maintain your composure, which is difficult. The older I am and the more I see, the softer I get. There's a picture of Jim Betherin with his grandson Forrest, who's whispering in his ear for a professional photo shoot. Credit Abigail Torrey Photography. I was at Fetch Pet Supplies and Gifts one time, and good Lord, you don't expect to get touched doing pet photos. They brought in an old boxer, and he couldn't walk, just had wheels for the hind end, and they brought him in to get his picture with Santa. He was looking up at me, and I got down on the floor to take a picture with that boxer on the same level. You know he's not going to be around much longer, and he's just looking up at you. That is a picture I still have on my phone. Those are ones you don't forget. There's a picture of Betherin got down on the floor to pose with this boxer named Queso, who's disabled. Betherin does Santa photos at Fetch Pet Supplies and Gifts each year and says he will never forget this particular dog. Photo provided by Betherin. Question: what does a Santa costume cost? How many do you have? You can get one for $50, but a nice starter outfit is $450 to $600, and it goes up from there. I have 6 suits. Question: have you ever been peed on? Never. I had a dribble from a Cocker Spaniel at Fetch, but no kids. Question: do you do any volunteer work as Santa? I do 2 nursing homes and the Cancer Center in Bolivar. I donate 4 hours to law enforcement family photos because they have a thankless job. The nursing home is one of the most depressing yet rewarding. You go out into your truck, decompress, and shed some tears and get ready to do the next. Some of the residents remember Santa and the memories they have from childhood. You might see an 85-year-old rocking a baby doll. One guy is a greeter at Walmart in Bolivar. I saw him after Christmas, and he said, "I want to thank you." I said, "What did I do?" He said, "The last picture I have with my wife was with you at the nursing home." That will kill you when someone tells you that. The Cancer Center in Bolivar, when I go up there, I give everyone a naughty and nice coin and candy canes. They said it was so joyful and brought back memories. 2 years later, I was at Woods Express gas station, and someone yelled, "Santa." I turned around, and it was a guy from the Cancer Center, and he said, "You probably don't remember my name, but I keep that coin with me every day." I said, "Wow, you're making an impact and don't realize it." There's a photo of a woman with dark hair and a dark shirt. Her name's Juliana Goodwin, and she's a freelance journalist with experience covering business, travel, and tourism, health, food, and history. She is a former food and travel columnist for the Springfield News-Leader, a former business reporter for the Joplin Globe, and has written for USA Today and Arkansas Living Magazine, among others.
Alrighty, that was such a nice story. Our next story comes from Springfield News-Leader. It is by Charles Dunlap of the Columbia Daily Tribune. It is titled, "Missouri State Parks Encourages First Day Hikes, Where to Find One of 24 Guided Trips." Missouri State Parks wants residents to get out and active in the new year. One way it suggests kicking off a possible New Year's resolution is through a first day guided hike January 1st in Missouri state parks or historic areas. This at least 30-year tradition got its start in Massachusetts, and observances now are nationwide. "I am thrilled to see the continued growth and success of the First Day Hikes program," said Lewis Ledford, Executive Director of the National Association of State Park Directors, in a news release. "This initiative has become a cherished tradition, providing individuals and families with the opportunity to embrace the outdoors and kick off the year with a commitment to health and well-being." Alrighty, we have a photo here. It's a photo of Boat Hinge along the Katy Trail. It is a photo of 6 small boats cut in half, kind of resembling Stonehenge, but this is Boat Hinge. Hike distances may vary. Hikers, especially if a whole family activity, should choose a guided hike that fits their comfort level. If not interested in hiking, there still are other outdoor activities available January 1st at state parks and historic areas. This could include boating, fishing, or even horseback riding, depending on park or area offerings. Pre-registration is required for all hikes, as some have participant limits. Search First Day Hike via the Missouri State Parks iCamp Mo website to register. Where First Day hikes are happening: Bennett Springs State Park. It is a 2.5-mile hike that starts at 1 p.m. from the Savannah Ridge Trailhead in Lebanon. Big Sugar Creek State Park, 3.3-mile hike, starts at 9:30 a.m. on the Ozarks Chiquapin Trail in Pineville. Waterproof boots are strongly recommended. Nathan and Olive Boone Homestead State Historic Site in Ash Grove. Hike starts at 10 a.m. from the picnic shelter. We have Bryant Creek State Park. It is a 3 1/4-mile hike. Starts noon from Pine Hollow Trailhead in Ava, where I'm from. Crowder State Park, 1.8-mile hike, starts at 10 a.m. on Redbud Trail in Trenton. Cover River State Park in Troy. Graham Cave State Park. It is a 2.5-mile hike at 9:30 a.m. in Danville. Hahn State Park is a 3.8-mile hike starting at 10 a.m. from Spanish Land Grant Trailhead in St. Genevieve. Springfield Landing State Historic Site. It is a 1.5-mile hike, starts at 1 p.m. Jefferson City. The Katy Trail Rock Island Trail State Parks. It is a 1-mile hike, starts at 2 p.m. There is the Knob Noster State Park, 1-mile hike at 11 a.m. in Knob Noster. Lake of the Ozarks State Park, 2-mile hike, starts at noon in Osage Beach. Merrimack State Park, a 2.5-mile hike, starts at 11 a.m. in Sullivan. The Missouri Mines State Historic Site, 1 mile at 9 a.m. in Park Hills. Onondaga Cave State Park in Leesburg, starts at 10 a.m. Roaring River State Park, a 1.5-mile hike at 10 a.m. in Cassville. Robertsville State Park, a 2.6-mile hike at 10 a.m. in Robertsville. Rockbridge Memorial State Park, multiple hikes in Columbia. Francois State Park, 1-mile hike at 10 a.m. in Bonneterre. The St. Joe State Park, a 1 1/4-mile hike at 1 p.m. in Park Hills. Stockton State Park, 1.6 miles in Dadeville. Table Rock State Park, 2 miles in Branson. The Thousand Hills State Park, 2 miles at 10 a.m. And Washington State Park, 1.5 miles in DeSoto. More information about state parks and historic sites is available through the Missouri State Parks website. Participants are encouraged to use the hashtag #FirstDayHikes on social media.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen, poking around column. Did he give in to, quote unquote, the man, or did he keep the toilets in his front yard? As Hemingway said, a man can be destroyed but not defeated. It is clear to me that Matt Pash is enjoying his brush with City Hall, by Steve Pokin. There's a photo of a house with different things in the front yard and 4 styrofoam headstones. And there are 4 styrofoam headstones where there were once 4 porcelain toilets. We last left Matt Posh with my December 4th column about his front yard toilets. The story ended in a cliffhanger. Would he give in to the man, the city of Springfield, and an anonymous neighborhood complainant he calls Karen? Or would Posh stand tall, unwavering in his belief that a man's front yard is part of his castle, and the founding fathers of this great nation implicitly wanted future patriots to be able to place as many toilets in their front yard as they wanted? Another picture, this with Matt Pash of Springfield, with 3 of his 4 toilets. It says, the caption says, "A man in his toilets." Matt Pash of Springfield had until December 13th to decide whether to remove the 4 toilets he has placed in his front yard. The city considers them a nuisance. Photo by Steve Pokin. He faced a fine of up to $375 if he didn't yield. His deadline for a decision was December 13th. So he yielded. Posh gave in. He removed the toilets on December 12th. He tells me he was concerned the city fine might have been $375 per toilet. Headstones now stand in memory of toilets. The toilets are being stored, he says. Where, I ask. He won't tell me. He's replaced the toilets, which he was using as planters, with 4 styrofoam headstones that stand in memory of the toilets. There's another picture of 2 of the headstones. Here lies Lou, died shooting craps, and rest in PISS latrina, flushed with success. Fake headstones now stand where there used to be 4 toilets in Matt Posh's front yard, photo by Steve Pokin. The headstones have names on them. John, privy to the throne, here lies Lou, died shooting crabs, rest in PISS latrina, flushed with success, and R.I.P. down under Dunny, bidet mate. The city building inspector visited the home in the 600 block of East Morningside Street on Monday, December 15th, to see if the toilets were still standing in violation. The inspector saw the headstones and finds them acceptable, Posh says. The reason the city had poo-pooed the toilets was because it prohibits the placement of items intended for indoor use to be placed outdoors, things like washers, dryers, and toilets. Obviously, placing vegetation in the bowls wasn't the workaround Posh had hoped it would be. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. Posh, a self-employed graphic artist, is not done. As Hemingway said, a man can be destroyed but not defeated. Did the Wright brothers quit after one failed attempt? Did George Washington exit Valley Forge and go home to Martha because his feet got cold? Absolutely not. There's a picture of a headstone. It says John, privy to the throne, with flowers and a Santa head on top of a candy cane, it looks like. I don't know if you've seen the wishing well planters, Posh tells me, where they're made out of wood and people just put flowers in them. Viola, imagine a wooden wishing well, but it's a wooden toilet. He wants to find someone who can build him a wooden toilet that can be used as a planter in his front yard. This is something that's made for the outdoors, and the city can't get me for it, he says. Take that, Karen. It's clear to me he's enjoying all this. Posh 43 tells me he has a national legion of supporters as a result of my December 4th column. This is something I've paused to ponder. I mean, there are people in, say, Vermont who are rooting for Matt Posh to have toilets in his front yard here in Springfield, Missouri. What kind of world do we live in? I imagine 4 toilets in my neighbor's front yard. I'll wager the farther one lives from Posh's front yard, the greater support for his creative spirit. There's a picture of one of the headstones that says R.I.P. down under Dunny, bidet mate. Nevertheless, it's clear to me Posh is enjoying all of this. I'm a very extroverted person, and I like entertainment, comfort, and joy, he says. This brings smiles to people's face. It's something fun. It's something entertaining. I've missed opportunities in the past. I'm going to see where this goes. This is Pokin' Around column number 326. Steve Pokin writes the Pokin' Around and the Answer Man columns for the Springfield Daily Citizen. He also writes about criminal justice issues.
Alrighty. Our next story is from 417 Mag. It is titled How Empower Abilities Volunteers Make Dining Out Accessible. Learn how Empower Abilities volunteers are making dining out more accessible through the Restaurant Access Points program. This story is by Tessa Cooper. We start out with a photo of 4 people and a blonde lab. He's just sitting there nicely. He's a service animal for one of the guests that are dining. The photo is by Brandon Alms. It is captioned Empowerability's Restaurant Access Points Program, RAP, helps remove barriers that people with disabilities face at restaurants. Restaurants are special places. Eating out is an opportunity to connect others, and a good meal leaves you full and a bit happier. That's why Empower Abilities Restaurants Access Points Program, RAP, exists to help remove barriers that people with disabilities face when navigating, ordering, and eating at restaurants. The organization created RAP in response to someone who shared their personal experience of visiting local restaurants that weren't as accessible as they thought. This program trains local volunteers to conduct secret shopper-style evaluations of Springfield, Missouri restaurants from an accessibility standpoint. After enjoying a meal, each volunteer fills out a survey based on their experience. This survey focuses on the accessibility of the parking lot, entrance, inside of the building and tables, restrooms, and customer service. Then, another volunteer or staff member at Empower Abilities reviews the survey and contacts the business. Depending on the responses, the restaurant will receive recommendations on how to make its establishment more accessible. Restaurants that pass or make necessary changes receive a RAP decal they can display. This has been such an eye-opening experience for me, says Sherry Montgomery, RAP volunteer. According to Montgomery, a lot of the reports reveal minor needed corrections, like lowering the soap dispenser in the bathroom to be more wheelchair accessible, removing damaged rugs that are potential tripping hazards, or altering lighting for people with vision impairments. We have a photo of the RAP decal. It's got the accessibility logo. It's a round blue decal, and it looks like in the middle, the heart is blue with an A to represent the company Empower Abilities. It is about working with the business to help them not only understand how removing the barrier can help people eat at their establishment, but it also just makes our community at large more accessible, says Shelby Butler, Director of Advocacy and Public Policy. Local businesses like Leong's Asian Diner, the Bambino's Cafe location on Delmar Street, which is where the picture I described is located, Van Gogh's Eatery, and Georgia Max are all RAP certified, and the list is getting bigger by the day. To see a list of RAP certified businesses or to apply to become a secret shopper, visit rapapp.org.
This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Pip's barber owner purchases historic building off Route 66. The purchase cements Pip's in the heart of the College Street redevelopment district, by Ryan Collins. Here's a picture of Aaron Pippin, owner of Pip's Beard Craft and Barber, purchased the property that houses the barbershop in December 2025. Photo by Ryan Collins. And you see shelves behind him with different products and a mirror. The owner of Pip's Beard Craft and Barber has purchased the historic building in Springfield that housed the business for the last year. The purchase cements Pip's Place, located at 930 West College Street, in the heart of the College Street redevelopment district. Owner Aaron Pippin says he is happy to carry on the legacy of the building, which formerly housed Peggy's Beauty Shop for decades. It has been a passion project for Pippin, who moved to Springfield in 2018 after discovering barber school. He said his dream was to open a shop on historic Route 66. Pippin worked at Rogue Barber Shop for about 5 years. At the end of 2024, Pippin started leasing the building on College Street, and Pip's was born in 2025. Pip closed on the property purchase December 11th, 2025. In the year the barbershop has been open, the owner has used nostalgia and memorabilia to fill the shop and has completed intense renovations. On top of building clientele, Pip's has built its place in the community with weekly motorcycle nights. It was important to get in touch with community and connect to this neighborhood and connect everything because the West Central, as you know, they're the heart of Route 66, a tiny building rich in 66 Route 66 history. There's a building, it's a black and red paint with a sign that says Beardcraft and Barber. The 520 square foot building is owned by Pips Beardcraft and Barber, LLC, and was appraised at $104,100, according to Greene County Assessor's Office records. Pippin declined to disclose the financial terms of the property purchase. Pippin redid everything inside and out of the shop, he said. I've been here for a year, and then the opportunity came to buy the building, and I just happened to have myself in a place where I could do it. Pips has become known for its attention to detail and specialty focus on beards, Pippin said. The barber shop has expanded to include 4 stations. Besides Pippin, one other barber works at Pips. The company is looking for more to join the team. The barbershop business was awarded a Preserve Route 66 Legacy Business Grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, according to a company press release. The grant will be used to design and construct a Route 66 themed street side sign. Pips is going to be synonymous with community, Pippin said. We're going to do community sports stuff throughout the year. The next year is the 100th anniversary of Route 66, so we're going to really lock in and try to do some community stuff with that. We want to give back to community. We want them to know we're going to be here. There's a picture of the inside of the barber shop with 3 chairs and 3 mirrors with shelves of product, and the floor is black and white tile. Ryan Collins is the business and economic development reporter for the Springfield Daily Citizen. Collins graduated from Glendale High School in 2011 before studying journalism and economics at the University of Missouri, Columbia. He previously worked for Bloomberg News. Contact him at 417-849-2570 or rcollins@sgfcitizen.org.
Alrighty. Our next story is from 417 Mag. It is titled Four-Legged Trail Buddies by Jordan Blomquist. We have a photo by Katie St. Clair of Jenna Schuster and Anthony Hales with their dog, who is he looks like a lab, a brown lab. No, golden retriever. Alrighty. Outdoor adventures are made better with a furry friend by your side. Jenna Schuster and her partner Anthony Hales know that all too well. The couple loves spending time outdoors, hiking local trails, camping under the stars, exploring Arkansas, and visiting the lakes near home with their 2 dogs, Finn, a 2-year-old golden retriever, and Poppy, a 3-year-old blue heeler. Schuster adopted Finn from a local breeder, while Poppy spent some time in the wild before being rescued by Hales. A yoga instructor, Schuster says life with dogs has made her more active and helped her enjoy all the little moments, like seeing the sunrise and fresh snow. Things that you might find annoying now become a little more exciting, she says. Poppy tends to be the trailblazer. On hikes, she's a fearless leader with Finn following close behind. She's even dabbled in rock climbing with Hales. She's a boss lady, Schuster says. She's more independent. Their perfect adventure day starts at Eurasia Coffee and Blue Heron Farm and Bakery to fuel up before heading to a Green Whale Trail, 2 Rivers, or Fellows Lake. Finn and Poppy hike around, swim, and run through the fields. Schuster says they spend the whole day walking around, exploring, and spending as much time as possible outside. A short story, but a good story.
This is also from the Springfield Daily Citizen, another poking around column. Owner explains why he tore down Rancho Court, former Route 66 stopping place. The owner, a Springfield dentist, says he discovered after purchase that there were problems he didn't know about, and then it would cost him far more to renovate than he anticipated, by Steve Pokin. There's a picture of a green sign that says Kitchenettes Rancho Court in part of one of the buildings. But the sign has faded quite a bit over the years. A small part of the history of Route 66 in Springfield won't make it to next year's centennial celebration of their Mother Road. The owner of the property where the Rancho Court Motel once stood raised the 18 individual cottages this past week, as well as 3 trailers that each had 2 units. The demolition of the 24 units occurred on Monday and Tuesday, October 13th and 14th. The main building, which was once a store and gas station, was still standing when I visited Wednesday, October 15th, but was scheduled to come down. There's a picture of the final building that's slated for demolition. Was still standing on October 15th. Arash Amania, who bought the property in January of 2022, tells me his original intent was to renovate each unit, put in new appliances, and to continue to rent them on a monthly basis. I love the architecture. I like quirky things, he says. Madnia is 47, is a dentist. He owns Access Dental and Implants in Springfield. My plan was to spend about $5,000 on each unit, but oh my gosh, it was more like $15,000 to $20,000, he says. There's a picture of the rubble that remains of the demolition of the Rancho Court Motel buildings. Photo by Ellie Freistack. There were problems he was not made aware of, he said, when he bought them. He decided he couldn't afford it, and in the meantime, once the units were vacant and homeless people were breaking in and vandalizing the cottages, it was just causing cost and chaos, he says. And I then thought, what else could I do with the units? I looked into certain programs through Housing and Urban Development and went to HUD centers. I have these units and I don't have the money to save them. I need some help. He says he's lost $250,000 since his purchase. Owner says city suggestions came too late. Ahmadiyya tells me he was in conversation with Big Boy Men's Ministry in Kabul. The organization's mission, according to its website, is providing hope, healing, and a fresh start for men and women transitioning from incarceration back into society. He says city officials told him they did not want anyone living in the units, and then that he either needed to fix them first or tear them down. There's a photo of Rancho Court buildings that was taken before demolition of the cottage's units. So he decided to tear them down. He entered into a contract for demolition that began on October 13th. But that morning he says he heard from the city at 9:58 a.m. They said they had all these things, all these programs, grants and stuff that could help make the property into, for example, a Route 66 gift shop. Where were you guys 2 or 3 months ago when we were trying to get plans okayed by the city? I told them I was under contract to demolish them that day. I told them I don't know what you want me to do. It was a lack of communication, Ahmadiyya said. It was heartbreaking and frustrating. Bob Hosmer, the city's planning manager, says it's a tragedy when old structures with some historical significance are demolished. Rancho Court was not designated a historical site. I don't know if there is miscommunication on our part or his part, Hosmer tells me. The city cannot stop an owner from applying for a demolition permit, Hosmer says. Abanias had good intentions, he adds, but he did not have funds to renovate the units so they could be lived in. Currently, Hosmer says, there is no entity with a mission to contact property owners and outline to them what grants or tax incentives might be available for rehabilitating old, dilapidated structures with some historic significance. This was not something we want to see happen, Hosmer says. Ahmadiyya right now has no specific plans for the 1-acre parcel. Historian calls it demolition by neglect. There's another picture of some of the Rancho Court buildings with red X's on them. The photo was taken just before demolition of the cottage units at Rancho Court Motel. I asked John Sellers, a Springfield historian, what he thought about the demolition of another Route 66 motor court. There's a sense of loss about losing every one of them when it happens, he says. We've seen multiple ones here in the neighborhood in the Ozarks that have been torn down and replaced or just left vacant. Sellers is executive director emeritus at the History Museum on the Square and chairman of the Springfield Landmarks Board. These motor courts were the life of Route 66 in those days, Sellers says. Their distance apart was very small. It was a way for people to stop and rest up, get some gas and something to eat. Rancho Court was at 1544 East Kearney Street on the south side of Kearney, just west of Glenstone Avenue. The location was once Route 66. They had little cafes or diners with them, he said. They're like what a convenience store is now. Rancho Court was not a historical site, Sellers says. It's demolition by neglect, and it happens all the time, he adds. It was broken into a lot. There were a lot of transients and people there that were camped out in there. Route 66 motor courts in Ozarks often features giraffe stone. Rancho Court featured kitchenettes. It was once called Trails End Hotel. I've checked newspaper archives, and the earliest mention I find for Trails End Hotel, with and without the apostrophe, was in 1949. The structure was built in 1950, according to records with the Greene County Assessor's Office. The buildings that made up the hotel had a giraffe stone exterior. Giraffe stone means the builder used flat pieces of local stone, often sandstone, limestone, and dolomite, which when pieced together on the exterior of a building resemble the hide of a giraffe. Tom Peters, former dean of Missouri State Libraries, in March 2022, hosted an online discussion of giraffe-style architecture on the Ozarks. There's a video link to this discussion in a 2024 story on the same topic in the Accidental Ozarkian. Giraffe stone was often used to build motor courts along the 2,400 miles of Route 66, running from Chicago to Santa Monica, California. But the prevalence of giraffe stone was far greater in the Ozarks, Sellers said. The Federal Interstate Highway Act of 1956, in large part, meant that most drivers would bypass the small towns along the 2 lanes of Route 66. The impact of the interstate system hit Springfield 10 years later when Interstate 44 was completed through Missouri. Nevertheless, even today, people drive the sections of Route 66 that remain, many of them visitors from foreign lands. 2 examples of successful renovation. Sellers points out there are old motor courts that have successfully been renovated. One example is the Rockwood Motor Court Route 66 Motel at 2200 College Street in Springfield. It was built in 1929 and now is the oldest operating court on Route 66. Phyllis Ferguson, a former member of the city council, and her husband Tom bought the property in 2019 and completed a major renovation. Caitlin McConnell, creator of the Ozarks Alive blog and frequent contributor to the Springfield Daily Citizen, wrote about the Rockwood Motor Court in January 2020. There's a picture of one of the cottages, of the Rockwood cottages, with a red chair out front and a green door on the front. Sellers has a weekly radio show from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesdays on KICK 1340 a.m. Ferguson will be his guest October 21st. The Boots Motor Court in Carthage, built in 1939, is another example of successful renovation. The Boots Court Foundation funded the rehabilitation of the structure. There's a picture of the Boots Court in Carthage. It is a white exterior with black stripes and red covers over the windows. I can't talk today. McConnell wrote about the Boots Motor Court in May of 2024. This is poking around column number 313.
Alrighty, next we have a story from Springfield News-Leader. It is by Marta Mize. It is titled, How a Donated School Bus Will Help Eden Village Build 3D Printed Homes. Through several partnerships, Eden Village will have its own specialized bus to aid in constructing its third community in Springfield. A school bus donated by First Student, the largest school transportation company in North America, will be revamped to be able to transport its 3D printer that builds homes for chronically homeless individuals. Eden Village is a tiny home community aimed at addressing the needs of chronically homeless individuals with disabling conditions. The local nonprofit will take on constructing Eden Village 3, its third community of its kind in the Queen City, at 2419 West High Street. It will feature 12 3D printed concrete duplexes that are all weather resistant and can double as tornado shelters. We have a photo of the Eden Village sign at 2801 East Division Street. The donated bus will be used to transport critical components of the 3D printer. First students in Drury University School of Architecture, specifically those in the Design Build program, will lead the redesign to transform the school bus into a dual-purpose mobile unit, according to a First Student news release. With the 3D printer including high-precision parts, the student will be tasked with ensuring the vehicle can safely carry the equipment that cannot be transported on traditional equipment haulers. Student plans also include building a functional mobile construction office with fold-out workstations, dedicated storage, blueprint space, and potential enhancements like HVAC, solar power, and an exterior awning, according to the release. Repurposing a former school bus into a dual-purpose mobile unit, serving as both a construction office and a mobile hub for 3D printer storage and fabrication, embodies our shared commitment to innovation, collaboration, and hands-on learning in service of the community, said Tracy Suter, director of the Design Build program at Drury University. Renovation work on the bus will be underway through the winter. The goal is to have the unit ready to deploy in March and April 2026 to support an on-site construction when weather allows for concrete 3D printing. While the bus will initially be used locally, the mobile nature of it allows it the possibility to support at future build sites, expanding access to innovative construction tools across the country. 12 other cities across 11 states have licensed to create their own Eden Villages, according to previous News-Leader reporting. Eden Village is already planning and raising money for 2 additional villages beyond Eden Village 3.
This is with the Springfield News-Leader, and the headline is Marler reflecting on a year of Republican control. Opinion. Travis Marler, Springfield News-Leader. As we near the new year, in the spirit of reflecting on 2025's events, this is a brief recounting of the Republican Party's deeds while they have had both the legislature and presidency. The Republican Party made permanent tax cuts for corporations and billionaires while cutting funding for families and children, and somehow still increasing the projected national debt by $4 trillion. The GOP caused a shutdown that threatened thousands of American families and snarled airplane flights because the party chose not to continue federal subsidies to help keep health care costs from skyrocketing. President Trump held SNAP benefits hostage for millions of Americans and dragged his feet to disperse those after a federal court ordered the administration to release them. In his most emblematic let them eat cake moment, the president demolished a third of the White House to make room for his $300 million golden ballroom that will be twice the size of the White House. With aspirations to become America's first dictator, President Trump took the purse strings from Congress, unlawfully destroying or gutting government departments while moving money around freely at his whim and according to his own loyalty tests. Approximately 600,000 people around the globe, many children, have died because of President Trump's dismantling of U.S. aid. The president fielded his own masked authoritarian force in ICE that continues to terrorize both immigrants and U.S. citizens, denying constitutional due process rights, violently assaulting people, and destroying property. The president continues to murder people in international waters while posturing America for a military attack on Venezuela. This, combined with the president's erratic tariffs against our allies, has led other nations to develop a historic distrust of the United States. President Trump, who has bragged about sexually assaulting women and had a close association with Epstein, has been implicated in the rape of a 13-year-old girl. This is far from a comprehensive list of President Trump's and the Republican Party's law-breaking, grifting, and cruelty. The Republican Party's dominant traits have become self-preservation and cowardice, complicit with the president. Not far into the future, all of this will be recounted in high school history classes across the nation. As I reflect on this year, I think about how the same democracy that empowers the people also makes the people complicit in injustice, forced to carry the burden of consequence that accompanies their votes. Anyone among the people who has not drawn a line in the sand at this point, but continued to support President Trump and his party of prostrating legislatures, should also deeply consider this. Travis Marler lives in Springfield.
Alrighty. Some fun things on this day in history of December 30th. What happened on December 30th? In 2006, Saddam Hussein was executed. In 2004, the highest barometric pressure ever recorded in recent history for locations 750 meters above sea level. In 1995, the lowest temperature ever recorded in the UK recorded a temperature of negative 27.2 Celsius, which is negative 16.96 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. The temperature had dipped this low once before on January 10th, 1982. In 1947, on this day, the last king of Romania stepped down. And some celebrity births: LeBron James in 1984, Tiger Woods in 1975, Patti Smith in 1946.
This is Springfield News-Leader. Missouri shares new regulations dates for deer turkey hunting seasons by Ahmed Jawadi, USA Today Network. There's a picture of a deer. Oh, it's actually a video. It says, what is chronic wasting disease? How is it affecting deer in Kansas? Kansas deer face a threat from chronic wasting disease, a progressive prion disease. The Missouri Department of Conservation has set turkey and deer hunting dates for the 2026-2027 seasons. Along with the next year's hunting dates, MDC also announced that a series of proposed deer hunting regulation changes have been given initial approval by the Missouri Conservation Commission, as well as regulation changes for spring turkey hunting. Here's what to know. Removal of CWD management zones. The CWD management zone consists of counties with confirmed cases of chronic wasting disease and those within 10 miles of a confirmed detection. The MDC is now recommending the elimination of the zone, opting instead to conduct mandatory CWD sampling in select counties to detect the disease as early as possible where it exists. Removal of CWD portion of firearms deer season. Hunters in CWD management zones were able to participate in their own 5-day hunting period to help curb the disease's spread, but the data showed it made little to no difference. As such, MDC believes its removal will simplify regulations for hunters. Removal of the antler point restriction, given that yearling bucks can spread CWD across long distances. MDC says removing the restriction will help minimize the spread and simplify regulations for hunters. Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.radioreader.com. reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier waves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you